so we're going to record this.
So today we're going to talk about Outlook, as you all know. I'm sure that's why you logged on to this webinar. And Outlook basically has three parts that I'm going to talk about and that people use extensively: email and calendar, and what they're now calling people, and we always call contacts. So we're going to start out with the email portion, and I'm just going to try and tell you about some things that you might not know about and that might save you some time in your work. So for instance, I have a kind of mock-up of hopefully emails that are fairly meaningless, you know, advertisements and so forth. And here we have, sometimes you get Outlook emails with attachments, and which, you know, of course, has a little paperclip. And sometimes you might not be sure which attachment is the one you want to look at. If you right-click on an email with an attachment, well, I'm sorry, first you have to open it up. If you open the email and then right-click on the attachment, you can preview it before you actually open up the whole program, and that's a lot quicker. So that might help you identify, oh yeah, this is the version of the contract I want, or this is the spreadsheet I need. So opening up the email and then right-clicking on the attachment file typically will allow you to see a preview. One of the choices in there is to preview that attachment. I also want to talk about something called search folders. And you will see in your list of folders at the bottom, there will be a search folders which won't have anything under it at first. And then I have set up a couple of search folders. And the idea of the search folder is it's kind of a virtual list of all of the emails that you have that relate to a certain topic or were sent by a certain person or whatever. So it's a quick way to see, oh, those are the ones, for instance, here are the ones I've set up for follow-up. So these all have follow-up flags on them, and they are still located in the appropriate folders where they exist, whether it's inbox or one of these other subfolders. But here is a virtual link to them, if you will. And then there's another one that I've set up here, which is larger, large emails, so larger than 100K. So that's some of the choices, okay? So I'm going to say, how would you set up a search folder? You would right-click on search folder and say, okay, I want a new one. And there's a way to do it through the menu, the ribbon at top as well, but the right-click is real easy. And here you can see the flag for follow-up, or you can do a search folder for unread mail, or mail from a specific person directly to me or not. Large mail, that's the one that's set up, the one larger than 100K. Mail with attachments, that sort of thing. So if I just for an example, say mail with attachments, and I say, okay, here are the mails with attachment. Here's the one that I opened up as a practice thing, but that doesn't mean that it's not still here. So it's kind of a virtual copy of it just to show you. So that search box may be helpful. If you no longer want one of those search, like the one with attachments, you can right-click on it and you can delete the folder. It does not delete the original, which is still here under the inbox. Okay, so that's search folders. There's also, of course, a search at the top here, a search box, which you can use to find all sorts of things that are anywhere. So if I say sales, you see a bunch of items come in, and if I then say, I think I just want to do sale, and then if I say that's just looking in my inbox because that's where I was, but I can say look in my subfolders, and they may find more additional ones in the subfolders. So that's nice when you can do that. So you can search for items based on what's located in the title, but also what's just located somewhere in the email, and so forth. And also in terms of the people or the contacts, you have that search as well. So if I am in my contact folder and I search for Smith, I have items that have the name Smith in them, but even others that don't have the name Smith in the full name, but there may be a note in that email, in that contact card that talks about a Smith, that was referred by a Smith, or that has an assistant named Smith or something. So it doesn't necessarily only mean that it's the name of the person. So you can search for lots of things in there. So you have the search box in there as well. For instance, I'll do another example of that. If I say Joe, I have a lot of people, and even here that Joe is not in the name, but it's in the company name, which appeared on the contact card, of course. So that's a little bit about the search. Okay, so now back to mail. I just wanted to show you that that search is really in all parts of the program. Sometimes when we're sending a new email, and we're sending it to somebody, we can start typing, you can start typing the name of that person, and you get lots of items that are similar for that name, right? And sometimes you have something in there that's an old one, and that is no longer valid. It's an old email address, or it's somebody you no longer have, you want to get that out of there. And so you can write, whoops, not what I wanted to do. You can right-click on one of those people that you no longer want in there, for instance. This is not working. You should be able to right-click and get rid of it. Oh, I see. It's just the X on the right. Okay, so you can delete any of those people, and then notice that person doesn't appear anymore. So you can get rid of an incorrect autocomplete, which sometimes has led me, for instance, to send things to an email address that gets bounced back because it was an old address, and I had more than one address for that person. So I'm going to cancel out of that. Okay, another helpful feature might be you can say, okay, I know I got a lot of things from this person. If you right-click on an email and you want to see what are the other things I've received from this person or organization, you can right-click and then get find related, now messages from that sender. So I can find a bunch of messages that are from that sender, and notice how it goes into the search box, okay? I could also find things that were in the same conversation, meaning that it went back and forth about that topic. I'm not so sure I have a good example of that, but find related messages in this conversation. Okay, so that's not only one, but many times we have emails that we send and they go back and forth between us and somebody else answers it, and so forth. So that might be helpful to see the whole chain of the emails going back and forth. Okay. Another helpful thing, and I'm going to go into a subfolder for an example of this, is if you receive an email from somebody who you don't yet have in your contacts, you can simply right-click on the sender's name and say add to your Outlook contacts. And if it is in the contacts, but this is an updated thing, it'll ask you if you want to update. And of course, I could add phone and work address and all that stuff. I'm just going to say okay. So you can add that person easily into your contacts. So right-click on their name is good. Another nice feature is sometimes you get an email and you want to resend that. Sometimes you send an email to somebody and they say they didn't get it and you want to resend it. So one of the things you might want to do is resend an email. So if you open an email and you want to resend it, you can go to the Actions tab, the Actions command on the message in Move section, Actions, and you can say resend. I know sometimes I don't think about this and I forward it because that's a way I have of sending it to somebody, but then you have all of that extra heading stuff that you want to get rid of because it was, it shows. This way it just sends the same thing again. So you open up the email, you go to the Actions, and you say resend the message. Okay. Now, another item that might be helpful, you might not know about, if I'm sending a new email to somebody, and I'll just pick a name, doesn't matter, and I want to ask, let's say I'm sending it to everybody in my company, and I want to find out, is it good, is the date that I'm picking for the holiday luncheon good for everybody? So I might say, okay, I want to put in the email, can you make a holiday luncheon on the 22nd of December? And so I put that in there, but if you simply leave it as an open question, you know you're going to get all sorts of things. Well, that date's not bad, but I'd rather have it on this date, and maybe I can come, I might be off that date, whatever. Instead, you just want a yes or no. So if you go to the Options tab, when you're sending a message, the Options tab, and you say use voting buttons give you a choice, yes, no, maybe, approve or reject. And you can also create your own custom items if you're asking, well, what color should we make the banner? And you can put blue, green, red in there. So if you just want a yes, no, you can pick that. You just see that you've added voting buttons. When they receive this, they're going to see on top on the header area a place they can check for yes, a place they can check for no, and they could put in comments if they want to, or just send it back. So that is a very more efficient way of getting an answer to something like that. So it's voting buttons, and it's in the Options tab. When you come into the message, you'll be in the Message tab. And of course, there are pretty obvious things that we all know about attaching and signatures and so forth. But the Options tab has some things that you might not be so familiar with. Read receipt, delay delivery until a certain time. I want to put a BCC on here, that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm not going to actually send this, so I'm not going to save the questions. Okay. Now, if you do want to have conversations kept together, you can go to the View tab in your inbox and notice that you have this Show as Conversations. So if you check this, and you can say whether it's this folder or all mailboxes, I'm just going to check all mailboxes here. And it's going to have certain things. I don't think I kept things that were conversations like that. Okay, I don't know that I have anything like that. But that would have everything that was back and forth on the same subject. It would have those items listed with a little tick next to them, and you could expand them or not. Whoops, not what I wanted to do there. Okay, so. Okay, so and then if you no longer want them in conversations, you simply uncheck, and again it asks whether it's this mailbox or all folders, and you can do that. So it provides like a little outline with the sub items that had the same subject. That's what the conversation looks at. What is the exact same subject? Okay. Now, a lot of people ask about the rules. What do we mean by these rules? So we have a bunch of rules here set up, or a way to set up rules. And here's what I want to talk about in terms of a rule. If you say you want to create a rule, you're going to first say, what do you want that rule to do? What are the conditions? Do I want it from a certain person? Do I want it with a certain topic? Do I want it only sent to me or sent to me regardless? Or I can be, in the CC. And then what do you want to do about that rule? So that's the idea. Now, do I have any rules here? Okay, so I can say I want to manage. I have a couple of rules here already set up. And one of them is for this photo services company. And when a message arrives, all right, from that company, move it to the budget folder. Okay, so that's what. So I'm going to cancel this so we can see that there's a budget folder, and it has items from that company. So that's moving. And if I were to get another item from that company, it would automatically go into that budget folder. Okay, so that's one rule. Another rule that I have, and if I go to Manage Rules, is a chorus rule. And that says that anything with chorus or music in the subject, move it to the chorus folder. All right? So I can look in the chorus folder and I can see somehow, this is about Broadway stuff, and it obviously has music or chorus in there. So these things all have to do with chorus or music, and they appear somewhere in there, New World Chorus and so forth. Okay, so how do you create those rules? So let's say I go to Rule, and I say create a new rule. I can use some of these pre-set up things, or I can create, something more customized. So let's say I say from change.org, because I have a lot of things in there, sent to me. No, I don't want it sent to me only. All right. I want to move those items to a particular folder. So I'm going to say, let's move those to, under my inbox, let's just move them to the book club folder just to create something different. Okay. And I can go to more options if I want, but at this point, what if I simply say, okay, run the rule now on messages current folder. Normally you want it to apply to new items, new messages, but it can also run current messages. So what did I said? So I said the budget. Okay, all right, let me see what I did here. So the rule said change.org, move it to the book club folder. Okay, I forgot which folder I used. So here's the book club folder, and here's all of the change, here's several change.org items that now got moved to the book club folder. And if new items come in from that organization, they would go to that folder. Okay, so that's how you would create a rule. Now, you can always go back and manage them and modify them. And one of the nice things about that is, if I created a rule that had to do with some meeting I was creating, let's say a budget meeting or something, and then I no longer need that rule for now, but the next quarter when I do my next budget meeting, I might need it, I can uncheck the rule for now without deleting it, and then I can put it back into place another time. I can say, okay, a couple of months down the road, now I'm going to do another budget meeting, so I want all of the items that have to do with something to be moved or to have some other feature. Okay, I'm going to cancel that. Now, what if we wanted to create a rule that was not one of these automated things, and I want to go to some advanced options? So here means I'm starting it from scratch. And what conditions do you want the rule to look at? And notice, whether it's sent with a forward, whether it's sent to a particular person, whether it's marked with importance, whether it's sent with specific words in the body or in the address or in the subject, whether it's assigned to a category. I mean, there are many, many rules here. So let's say if it's sent to me and the rule applies after it was arrives and it was sent to me, and then I'm going to go to the next step. And what do you want to do with it? So very commonly you want to move it to another folder, or I might want to apply a certain category to it. And I might want to forward it to certain people. Maybe I'm not dealing with a certain subject. I want my assistant to deal with that subject, so I could have it forwarded. I could have it marked with importance. I could have it play a sound. I could have it run a script. I could have it display a certain message. I mean, there's all sorts of things I could do. So I'm going to say I could delete it. If I don't want to deal with certain nonsense that I'm getting from a certain place, I could just say delete it automatically. Okay, so that's all kinds of things. So if I say, okay, mark it with importance, and apply, well, they're all to me, so that doesn't make any sense, does it? But anyway, let's say I say play a sound, and then apply this to the message after it arrives, okay? No, something that I forgot. Okay, play a sound. I have to indicate what sound. So I'll indicate whatever. Okay, that's probably not a good choice. Okay, the best choice is probably to move it to a folder. And let's say then we would say, okay, what's the specified folder? And I'm going to say budget, and I'm going to say okay, and then next, and then it asks if there are any exceptions. Well, maybe it's, I don't want to move it if it's marked with high sensitivity or importance, or I don't want to move it if it has a certain word. So I don't have to have any exceptions. So I'm going to go to next, I don't have any exceptions. Okay, and I could run this on already in the inbox, but of course all these were sent to me so that all of my items will be going into a different folder. So I'm not actually going to run this one, but I just wanted to go through the steps, and you would name the rule. So I might name the rule Ronnie if it was, if that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to cancel this because it's not practical to run this right now. Okay. So the idea with the rules is if you can use their pre-set up, the most common things you do, who is it from, what subject does it contain, who is it sent to, and then what do you want to do with it, then you should use the automated ones. Otherwise, you can go into, if you want something very special, very specific, you can go into the advanced options, and you have lots more choices. Okay, and you can turn on or off the rules whenever you want. Let's go into calendar for a minute. And I've just made up some things on a calendar, and what you can do also is set up more than one calendar if you like. So it comes up with calendar, but you could right click on it and you can add a calendar. And I've added another one that's I call personal. You can have a separate calendar for your personal and your business if you like. And if I open up the second calendar, it splits the screen and has both of them. But either here or on any of the calendars, I can right click and I can say I want to overlay them. And then you see both of the calendars at once with it, color coded, so you know what's happening in one as opposed to another. That's one way to do it. Or if I close a certain calendar, then I'm left with the one. If I have them overlaid and I no longer want that, I can right click either here or here and go back to overlay. It's like a toggle, uncheck it. And now they're not overlaid, and if I take off one, the other one takes up the whole space. Now, you can put three things on a calendar. You can put an appointment, which is typically something you're meeting with another person, or an appointment just for yourself. And you can put a meeting, which is typically meeting with multiple people. And you can put an event. An event is something that goes at the top, like something that's an all-day thing, like a seminar or a vacation day or a holiday or, mama's in town or something like that. And you can have that over multiple days, of course. So and then you notice that things are color-coded here, and that's because one of the things you might want to do is color-code your calendar as opposed to having two calendars, one for personal and one for business. You can color-code, if you like, items based on categories that you set up. So if I were to set up a new appointment, well, let's do it a different way. Let's go into and I just double-clicked on a date, which assumes I want to set up a new appointment. And notice there are categories here. Now, I've created these categories, but originally you'll just see red, blue, pink, yellow, and so forth. And if you go to all categories, you will have the opportunity to modify them. So if I decide I don't want the legal category to be legal, I can rename it. So originally it says yellow, and I can just say rename. And instead of that, I can say, entertainment. whatever I want to call it, okay, and so forth. So I name these categories, and then they're color-based. And so if I say, okay, and I want this particular event, this is an entertainment event, I'm going to a show, whatever, and it's not going to be an all-day event, so I'm going to say, well, this is going to take place in the evening, so I'm going to say 7:30 to 10, and save and close, and there is my event. There is my appointment, actually. If I set it up as an event, so because I'm going in through the monthly calendar, it shows as an all-day event, and if I have a seminar in Boston, and I put in all of my, choices about it and so forth, and I can categorize it if I like. This is a business item, and I say save and close. There's my seminar in Boston. If it's a 2-day seminar, I can actually drag it across 2 days, and it's color-coded. So it might be helpful to you to have color-coded items if you have different sorts of things that you're dealing with, and you want to be able to see them at a glance. So that's one of the things. Now, another thing about a calendar that a lot of people don't know is if you are forwarding, if you're trying to create an appointment with somebody, and you're going back and forth as to when we can make the appointment, you know how time-consuming that can be. If they're outside the office, or if they don't keep their appointments on their Outlook calendar, you can't use the Outlook function of scheduling to do this. So you can say, okay, I'm going to say, right-click on the calendar, or there's a choice up here, share the calendar, and say share with an email. And you can send this to a person, and you can say, okay, send them my calendar appointments for the next 7 days or 30 days or whatever, but only availability. It's only going to show when you're free, when you're busy, when you're out of the office, and only within working hours if you like. And then when you say, okay, look what happens. You get an email that you can send to anyone inside or outside the office that is showing your availability, whether you're busy, free, out of the office, and so forth. And it's showing you when, for each day of the 7 days I chose, when I'm free, when I'm busy, and so forth. So this might be easier than the phone calls that go back and forth, and you're not giving away anything about what you're doing on those days, just when you're available and when you're not. So I thought forwarding the calendar was a helpful item. And if everybody is on the same page, in other words, entering their information into Outlook calendar in your office, you can set up a meeting. And when you send the to, who do you want at your meeting? And I'm just going to pick some people at random here. And you can pick up who is required and who is not, and so forth. So you can set up these people, and if they are enter, and who's optional, that you don't, if they can't make it, you don't care. And when you say okay, it will have those people there. And when you say okay, I want to see the scheduling. If these people are on your network and are entering their appointments, then you would see for each person whether they are available or not. See if there's a color coding: busy, tentative, out of the office, no information. Now, of course, these all have no information because I'm not on a network where these people are on my network. But if you were, you would be able to tell when these people were busy, and you could say, oh, well, that won't work. Let's say we do it in a different time. And if they're a bunch of very busy people, and it's hard to find a time when they're all available, you can use the program to say auto pick next. Now, in this case, it's just going to be, each hour because they don't have the schedule. But it would go to the next available time in business hours when these people were available, when all of them were available. So that can be very helpful, the scheduling. Okay. I'm not going to say that. All right, so that's a little bit about the calendaring choice. Something about people or contacts that the default view, I believe, is this card view. And you can certainly see people in the card view. And as I pointed out before, you can search for people. Okay. You also have a business card view, which doesn't seem to be, okay, hold on a second. Business card view, okay. Now this is a good view if you are saying, well, somebody asked me for the contact information for this particular person. So if I right-clicked, and you don't have to be in this view, but you can see what the contact information is, you can say forward this as a business card. If you forward it as an Outlook contact, you may have notes in that contact page that you don't want people to see, whereas if you forward it as a business card, you are literally just giving them the contact information. So that may be more appropriate as a forward. But I personally like to work in a list view, either a phone list view or just plain list, which gives you a vertical, it's like, almost like a spreadsheet. What's nice about that is you can resort it any way you like. So if I don't remember, the file as is the default, which is the last name. But if I only remember the first name, I can go in full name, and then I can look for somebody here. Or if I remember the company and I don't remember the name of the person, I can do it by company and so forth. So a file as is the default, but it's very easy to change it. Of course, you can always use your search as well. But sometimes you want to look down through the people in the company before you realize which one you wanted to work with. Okay, you can use any business, if you set up a business card view and you set yourself up in a business with a business card, you can put all sorts of coloring and information on that, and you can also use that as your signature. When you go into signatures, one of the choices you have, instead of just putting your name and your title and your company and so forth, is you can use it as a business card, which is just a little bit more graphical and colorful. As you make it that way, you can even put your picture on it. Okay, another thing that's helpful here is categories. And I use the categories in my contacts. And if you are using the categories, you might want to move those categories over so they are more visible on the screen into where you can see them. So you can move these items around however you want. If you want to put the file as first or second, you can move those around, which is kind of neat. And the reason I say the categories might be helpful here, whether they're people or vendors or clients or personal or whatever, is you can create in the View tab, you can go to View Settings, and you can say, I want to filter these, and I want to, in the filter, if you go to the More Choices, and you want to just say, okay, I want all the clients, and when I say okay and okay, I just have all my clients. Some may be in there as more than clients, but I just have all the clients. And what's very interesting about this is from the Home tab, if you want to send out a mailing to just your clients, you can start the mail merge from here with the letter and word, of course, or the email, whatever. And notice the choice here is all contacts in the current view. If you start the mail merge from Word, you can't do that. You can only take a whole email folder. So this is very helpful if you are using the contacts and you want to send, you might have 500 or 700 contacts, and you want to send only to the 150 best clients. Then if you have them marked as a category, you can do that pretty easily. And then you can go back and you can say reset the view, and you're back to where you started. So that's a little bit about what you can do. And in case anybody's interested, here are some handy keyboard shortcuts that you can use instead of your mouse when you're doing certain things in Outlook. So, quick get to the F3 to get to the search box, a quick Control-N to create a new item, whether you're in email or messages or contacts. So these are some, and they'll show on the video when we send it out. So thanks for your attention. We ran a little over, but there's lots of stuff in Outlook.
Great, thank you, Ronnie. This is great. Any questions from anybody out there in the audience?
Would we see them? Yeah. Yes, you can create, Laura, a multiple part rule to do more than one thing. Obviously, it's a little more involved, but yes, it asks you for a lot of things step by step as to what you want to do in the advanced rules.
Yeah, and the rules are pretty straightforward, so they really walk you through a step. It's a good wizard to make it a little easier. That seems to be the only question. So thank you, everyone. Look out for our next events that are coming up. You can go to uscomputer.com/events. Have a nice day, everyone.